Hey, Cashflow Ninjas, real quick before we jump into today's episode. I've been asked by many people recently, what has been the one thing that has made all the difference on my journey as a business owner and investor? I started businesses and I've invested in businesses. I've invested in single family real estate, multifamily real estate. I still have a sizable portfolio of multifamily real estate, historic resorts, mobile home parks, oil and gas, life settlements, gold and silver, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I could go on. But the one thing that has changed the financial trajectory for myself and my family has been infinite banking. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is the number one thing I've done over the past 2 decades that have made the single biggest difference. And it's not even close. Setting up and building out a family banking system using infinite banking has enabled me to create my own financial system. This year, it has allowed me to focus and not pay attention to all the chaos in the global economy and global financial markets. I really don't pay attention to all the noise about tariffs, trade wars, markets violently going down and then going back up, or interest rates skyrocketing and wrecking real estate deals and other alternative investment deals. Do not be beholden to other systems. Create your own system. If you're interested in working with me and my team at Producers Wealth to set up your own banking system or your own business and family banking system, then go to getwealthyforsure.com. That's getwealthyforsure.com. When you go to getwealthyforsure.com, you can request a free copy of my best-selling book, Get Wealthy for Sure. Only pay for shipping. You can also watch all of our presentations and schedule a call to explore infinite banking options with me and my team. You don't have to be powerless amidst the chaos. You too can have a financial strategy that provides certainty, predictability, and clarity. You and your family can also get wealthy for sure. Go to getwealthyforsure.com to start your journey today. The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Laubscher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Laubscher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts. We've got 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You could subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm joined by Josh McCallen from Accountable Equity. Josh has been on the show several times over the years talking about historic boutique resorts and hotels and everything that you need to know surrounding that specific asset class and niche. Josh, it's great to see you again, my friend. Welcome back.
Oh, it's awesome to be here, buddy. Thanks for having me on the big show.
Yeah, always great to have you on. Again, for our new listeners and viewers, if you go to cashflowninja.com and you type in Josh McCallen, you will find some incredible episodes that we've now done. Wow, it's been a number of years, right? So we've known each other a long time. Great friend of mine, friend of the show, wife Melanie's been on the show too. She's fantastic, great family. But yeah, Josh, great to have you back on. For folks that don't know who you are and what you do, could you please share a little bit about your background and journey with us?
Well, the journey is the journey, right? And we're grateful to be always willing to learn and grow. So about 28 years ago, I got married to this young lady, Melanie, and then we ended up buying our first real estate piece. So I would say we kind of been dabbling in the real estate since the 90s. However, Melanie and I went on to have 10 children, which is kind of my normal claim to fame. But professionally, despite having bought and lost a business decades ago, otherwise from that, I've been able to join a big family office, and help them grow. This is why I always love learning from your show, because you're so right. We want to learn from the family office strategies and bring them to those that are first generation wealth builders, are still in the journey. But for that family office, we took the post '08 real estate problem. Remember, a lot of us had bought things at too high of a value, and now they weren't selling for a few years. We took one of the hotel concepts that he was going to make condos, turned it into our first luxury resort, and then built a portfolio of them for the family office. It's still thriving, still shows up as one of the best boutique brands, and I'm very proud of it. That business then allowed me to exit in 18, and in 2018, we built the same model. So we're on our second portfolio of luxury resorts, but now we get to do it for straight directing for retail investors, first generation wealth builders, and we get to enjoy the impact we make on the lives. And so some other time, if you get a chance to go back, you'll hear all about what happened to me, my family, and our key executives in the journey of the last 15 years. Is we love real estate, we love beautiful architecture, but what we find in hospitality is not only is it maybe some of the most powerful kind of value creation, commercial real estate, it's also the most human. And so we just embrace the idea of treating people with dignity. And actually, we dare say LOVE. That's what we want our guests to feel before they leave. Not just did we upsell them something cool, which hopefully we do, right? We're here in the sales business, but that we cherished them while they were there, and they felt loved. So it's kind of an exciting passion we get to do, MC, and that's why I joined forces and became a client of yours years ago, because I saw the same passion for people and their legacy. And you had that question years ago. You used to say, if you couldn't pass along money to your people, to your children or your family, what lessons and ideas would you pass along? And I remember thinking, what a great guy. When I first heard you, I'm like, what a great guy. And that's why we've invested all of our strategies through you. And we appreciate you for what you've done with Producers Wealth.
No, incredible. And I've seen the there's an art to this, and the art and science of just incredible hospitality firsthand at some of your properties. So let's talk a little bit about the properties. Historic boutique hotels is kind of the space that you're in. What is going on there these
That's
days?
an interesting question.
What are some of the trends? What are some of the exciting things? What are some of the less exciting things? What's going on?
So free of charge. We just did a whole report on this, not because everybody's looking into it, but because I think it's really interesting what the big money's doing in boutique hotel and what the normal Airbnb investor, because you and I know 100 great people that got into Airbnb investing, and they did it over the last 6, 7, 8 years, and it actually worked for a very long time. But a lot of them are telling us there's stress in owning a small portfolio of investments in Airbnb. Well, what I find to be curious is at the retail active investor world, there's a lot of gurus teaching people how to get into boutique hotel for the first time. You and I have been doing this now a long time. You and I have seen 100 masterminds come and go for multifamily. Yep. And everybody was a great multifamily coach. And I never did see a hospitality one. I saw Airbnb. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of Airbnb gurus. Well, isn't it curious that they've gone to the hotel world? Well, In my quick webinar on that, I shared 3 cool statistics that are happening about boutique hotels. One, and maybe why people are getting out of short-term rental. And it's not because it was a total disaster. I just think the trend has slowed. And one of the guys who I know who's one of the top, let's say a lot of experience in it, at a very high level, he said, here's the problem with Airbnb right now. It's an arms race to add more amenities to each house, which makes it questionable whether you're even going to get a return. Because the more things you keep adding to each house, the more breakage, the more problems, the more, by the way, the more hate, right? You add that extra jacuzzi, that extra XYZ game or thing, and it doesn't work when you get there, you want a refund. So it's like an arms race to add more. But remember, they're not actually hotels. There is no staff there. So even if it was something like the breaker flipped, right? It
Yep.
might have been that easy. But you as the guest just lambast them online, it destroys their company. So for whatever it's worth, Airbnb with the arms race to add amenities is actually a danger for them. And so some of them have shifted to hotels just because it's smarter economics on hotels for them. And also a lot of times the best Airbnb markets are now regulated with licenses and scarcity. So there is a guru program going on, and some of them are good guys. I know one of them, he's a friend of ours, but others, I don't know who they all are. So I would say there's that. Now at the Blackstone level, apparently there's groups out there, and there's a great research on LinkedIn from Pat Stanton, who owns Thesis Driven Investing. And it seems to be quasi a data think tank statistician, and they're tracking this experiential hospitality trend all the time. And they're talking about how Blackstone, there's a lot of people that left, probably from the asset management world, went and started creating what Viva May and Accountable Equity are doing, which is like highly experiential, high touch, premium, non-conforming hospitality assets, right? They don't look like a Holiday Inn Express. And they went out because obviously they know the algorithms. They know that once they build a portfolio of 4 to 5 and they call it something and they build a platform, they will then have real direct flow access back to Blackstone. So apparently Pat Stanton chronicles that there's a few of these quasi-backed, let's call them infiltrators getting into the space. They're really Blackstone, but they're looking like boutique people, but they're really Blackstone. And then there's crazy money chasing our space because of they call it the alpha. This is a Blackstone statement. The alpha right now, the making of wealth, is in operations. Whereas for the last 10 years, you and I know the alpha for making operations was lowering the cap rates, compressing them, meaning, and then using basically cheap money to free money to re-leverage them. So it was purely a financial alpha. And I know your listeners probably understand that, but I don't want to go into too much depth. But back when rates are low, you add one bit of revenue, and all of a sudden, what's called a low capitalization rate makes something worth maybe 25% more or 50% more. And yet it was just one line item of revenue, and it didn't even produce much cash. But because there's such a low cap rate, if it produced any cash, it was rapidly, it was artificially increasing the valuations. But in the future, which has now become the present, and Blackstone predicted this years ago and sent out some people into our field to go buy up boutique hotels that have experiential, natural draws. Apparently, they've gone into the bougie markets you and I know, like the Islands and Nantucket and other specialty places, and bought up these things at massive dollars, even though they make very little money. But they just knew that there's great barriers to entry. And then they went and they're trying to add experiential, wellness, destination amenities. And we're like, amen, amen. I feel like we're in the spot where the hockey puck is going.
Gotcha. This is very, very interesting stuff. So Airbnb gurus are shifting to boutique hotels.
Gurus.
The alpha switching to operational costs. That's where you generate your returns. It's fascinating. The experiential traveling, and also which is interesting is your premium products and services and experiences. There's still a massive demand for it, even in an economy that's kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, people mention it's like a K, right? The K
Uh,
recovery is a famous statement. Why? Because it's got the two legs up and down. You almost have like a K economy where there's a lot of liquidity at the top for premium products and services, and obviously the rest of the economy looks a little bit different, right?
that's right. Yeah, and wellness, there's also those trends, right? That
Yeah.
people are. I mean, you see it on Instagram every day, and that people are spending a lot of money going towards natural cures, places, and health and wellness routines that are guided. Of course, accessing these things. So at the end of the day, we see it too, and our properties are built for it. So we're adding those layers of revenue to our already existing offerings, and then looking for more.
So you guys also have a unique angle because you're going in at it from the historic boutique hotel kind of angle. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about that.
Well, it's probably I would classify it as a passion and also an expertise that we've built for historic restoration, preservation, and then it really for us we call it the soul of the building and the story of the building. But we also, we long time ago, MC, when we wrote this business plan and dreamed about what our place in this world was, it was all around the idea of connecting human life, human experience to love from other people and nature. And so nature and the stories, it just happens to be you and I know I've bought properties that are awesome stories and
Yep.
awesome nature, meaning they're relatively in, serene environments, farms, waterfronts, golf courses, vineyards. Um, and so to me, I call that the primordial attractions of the human heart. They're never going out of style, but historic has been a core thing we've done. The current acquisitions fall more under the natural beauty and the experiential trend than the historic preservation.
Yeah. It's interesting. The historic stuff, there's this trend of nostalgia,
Oh yeah,
and brands have capitalized on this. You see all the old, you see the Miller Lite
yeah, you're
cans or the
right.
Miller beer, and you see the old Coca-Cola bottles coming back. And it's interesting. It's a very, very strong trend because it evokes emotion, right? Because you see stuff and you have a connection with it. You're like, I was a kid and I used to drink out of that Coca-Cola
Yep,
bottle, and that was a treat back in the day. You didn't have it all the time,
that was a
once
treat. Yeah,
once a while. And then the other thing that you also said was the things that we are attracted to: water, whether it's oceanfront, beautiful scenery, mountains,
that's right.
wineries, that kind of stuff, vineyards. It's yeah, I mean, a lot of very, very strong trends in place.
Yeah, and we're pivoting all the time too because the first time in my career I've seen people actually slow down on drinking. So one of the things that sells well, as a matter of fact, one of our wineries, Bohemia, predicted that day one, and they actually invested a lot into non-alcoholic wine, which is so interesting. So same grapevine, same great wine is made. You're not going to believe this, MC. Let me just give you a little curiosity. Then, after it is fermented and it tastes great as a wine with alcohol, you actually have this. I'll use generic terms, reverse osmosis, where they actually extract the alcohol component. And
Interesting.
you would have thought, right, MC, you would have thought it was grape juice that tastes like wine, right? No, it's wine that has had an extraction. And the challenge about that is it's pretty advanced technology. So it costs money. It actually costs more money to make non-alcoholic than alcoholic. Can you believe that?
It's
Because
it's unbelievable.
because
It
you want the quality and depth of taste.
yes.
So it's not just doctoring juice; it's making wine and pulling down the alcohol. So anyway, we've been in that trend for over a year now, and then we've also been in the real real great even wellness kind of cocktails where you put in the right type of this and the right type of that. But those two trends are also making sure we buoy the different ups and downs in the trends and tastes. But what we're really seeing is truly people want to have something unique and experiential.
That trend of people drinking fewer, I saw that came out the other day. And again, this just shows you how fluid, I guess, our environment is because if you would have asked people to put money on this, a bet that liquor sales will actually go up as the economy worsens, as it's always done, you would take that. I mean,
I
I would
would.
take that bet, 100%. But again, tying into this wellness trend and all the other things, it's just incredible to see the complete opposite. So it's
Well, that
interesting.
is that is. But you did mention, I'm sure it's at the higher income earner. It's probably at the higher income earner because they're more influenced by the trends. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
what we're trying to do is like, look, we're at the end of the day, we're hardcore business people, entrepreneurial. So we're over here saying, okay, well, how do you mix and match the cocktail offerings slash bar offerings,
yeah,
and then how do you pick up the same exact trend? The one side of one coin is, oh, maybe lower vodka sales. And on the other trend is more, if we offer it to you, they will take it. So while you're in a resort like this, if you find out there's a nature based or wellness detox concept or a multi day experiential or just treatments that speak to you on a cellular level, like red light therapy, you're actually just going to add that to your experience because it's probably the same consumer. The same consumer is willing to pay for the non-alcoholic, expensive non-alcoholic, is also the one that wants to do a therapy with plunge and hot tub and then go red light and then have a treatment.
yeah. It's fascinating. And now that I'm thinking about this, as we're having this discussion, I've even seen in restaurants the mocktail list,
Oh yes,
which
it's
is
big
just as long as the cocktail list. I mean,
and
it's
it's
all coming together,
expensive.
Josh. You're bringing it together for me here.
It's expensive too, right? See, by the way, MC, that's the other curious thing about our space is that all of us, whether we're current investors in this space like I am, or passive investors like our friends are, we're experiencing it because we are all dynamically interacting with hospitality. And so
Yes.
yes, the reduction in vodka sales is being matched by the sale of mocktail versions of cocktails.
It's incredible. Now, also the core business plan that you guys execute is weddings and events on the properties, and then
Right.
everything else. And then this is the beauty about this layers of cash flow,
That's right.
as I call it, because you start with a rock solid foundation, and then everything is ancillary. You
Yeah.
get to the property. And there's a hotel. All your guests are staying at the hotel. And guess what? There's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a winery, there's a golf course, there's a spa, there's all these other things now that gets added, and they're enjoying it because they're there on property, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the holy grail for me, I witnessed years ago. One, it felt like a calling. It felt like something that we were born to do, and Melanie fell in love with it too. And so many of our leadership is the the gift of service to the human heart, and the way you get uplifted by trying to love someone else is, I call it the antidote to depression. It's the antidote to anxiety. Service and pouring into someone else has always been the antidote to depression, anxiety, and stress because you're not focused on you anymore for those moments. And there's something good about all humans that if we give, we do receive love back. So, anyway, that was what drew us. And then as we overlaid business plans to fulfill our mission in life, we realized that weddings, I mean, this is not revolutionary, but we looked at it like a good old fashioned an entrepreneur. We said, well, weddings are sold a long time in advance of the money, of the day of food cooking, and it's contracted, and families want to sign it up 18 months in advance. That young lady or that woman who wants to sign up her wedding is actually looking more than a year in the future.
Yep.
And so that gives you and I, who own these, we get to see the revenue patterns. Okay. And we do actually do ups and downs in staffing for that. So, really methodical planning can go into an operation that is contract revenue. Whereas if you and I just opened a really cool beach bar and we hoped for really good weather on the weekends, we would not know our revenue for that weekend.
Right.
And for example, a beach bar, which I've owned many, can be a home run on a great day, and you might as well not even open on a bad day.
Right.
And whereas in our business, it's relatively smooth and it's pretty lucrative. It is still the most lucrative portion of hospitality, and that is our core business, is the wedding catering and the high-end social.
So what are you guys up to these days? What are you involved? You're always
Yeah.
involved in interesting things and always involved in different projects. What's going on?
Yeah, but we're getting oh man, we did another study on the portfolio effect for real estate ownership. But building a portfolio adds value to all the investors. But that means we're in the middle of some acquisitions because what we're seeing right now with our operational expertise and our focus on our operating team, it is giving us an unfair advantage to acquire properties at the right price. And we have a mandate both from our investors and a calling in this mission to eventually get to 25 of these life-giving, large experiential resorts. So we have several that we're pursuing right now. One that we actually have open and we're going for it. It'll close here before the end of the year, and it's something legendary. Like you can't imagine this. Let me told you. If I told you we're buying something that makes money already, millions of dollars, and that comes with over 900 acres plus land development rights. Oh, don't worry, we're not paying for the land or the land development rights. Oh, and the golf resorts part, if we built them today, it would be $90 million, according to all the analysts. Just the golf holes. That's how luxurious these golf holes are. And we're paying a quarter of that for the whole enchilada. And we're getting something that makes money. See, normally when you buy things at a basis that is just like a quarter of the real basis, it's because it's making no money.
Yeah.
And I've done that before, and you've seen me, and it's harder, but it's, it can be rewarding, but it's harder. This feels awesome, because what if you picture this, folks? If you were out buying businesses and, there was a trend of that for the last few years, Cody Sanchez led that, and you're buying a business and you're letting the business pay down the mortgage while you add another business on top of the business and it's being paid for by the business. That's like the holy grail. Cody Sanchez would say that's the holy grail. You're buying cash flow that's profitable and you can overlay more revenue streams that make it exponentially more valuable. And so that's basically like you asked me, catering and weddings at beautiful waterfront properties. As long as you work the business, you will sell. So we're buying two, and they're actually ranked. They're like highly ranked properties, and they're in Maryland, and they're actually proximity to our other properties, which creates so much power. And it also means we have deep expertise in the demands of that market, meaning the economic interest in those properties, which we're seeing great traffic still for what we sell. You kind of mentioned that those that have upper middle class incomes still are keeping their family goals of having that wedding, and
Yep.
those things are happening. We're not the most expensive in the world, and we're definitely not cheap. We're probably value priced to high middle class.
So there's still a lot of, and this is all on the East Coast too, right? So you're still staying in the same region, same markets.
Creates a lot of energy and power. It does. And brand awareness and sharing leads. One of the things, I know you've probably seen some of the things we've done in Maryland. They actually share leads because if you do our statistics each week after a professional salesperson might run 10 tours a week for high-end offers. And the number one reason we lose a lead, like they wanted to do it, but they're going to say no, thank you, is the date was taken, which is that's about as reasonable as a loss as you could take in our
Yeah,
it's
I would say that.
But it's regrettable because my heart, but this is inside baseball, but I always say, but if you listened to her heart, couldn't you have shown her how she could have had that wedding on a Sunday afternoon instead of Saturday? So they do capture some, but the majority, for those that have a date, that's a date, that's different. If you have somebody who comes in open-minded, they'll be moved to a great date. But the person who has a date, we lose them sometimes. Not because we failed, but because we sold it already. So we have shared, I think we probably got 10 to 15% of one of the newer properties leads are purely overflow from the other properties. So if you get that plus all the hundreds of leads they get fresh, it creates a lot of value for each business.
Wow. So, and again, you know exactly the market, you know what's going on, you know the players, you know the other options, the competitors, all that kind of stuff. So at this stage, you're not branching out into newer markets. You're staying
We're
and pursuing
deepening, diving.
opportunities,
Yeah.
yeah, in your markets that you're already operating in.
Yeah, that's our focus right now, and growing. You know what else allows us to do is continue to get really great teams. You know, that was you've been to some of my Learn and Grow events, which I think you
Yep.
know we should plug that January 10th. You'll be the speaker at Learn and Grow up at Renault. Anybody who loves MC, you got to meet him in person. He's better. You think, oh, I love this guy. He's the Cashflow Ninja. Guess what? He's better in person. So he's a handsome devil too. So. Um, what was I going to tell you about that? But I think what I don't know exactly what I was going to tell you about that. But we're getting together, and I wanted to make sure everybody knows
Oh
you're
yeah,
coming.
definitely and I'll put the link in the notes too. But if you just go to accountableequity.com, I think it's / learn and grow.
Right, Learn and
Or
Grow.
yeah, just type in learn and grow accountable equity into Google. You'll find it. Those events are incredible. I always have a blast at them. I love meeting the people in person on the property, and there's
Yes,
always a ton of investors that come out there and enjoy their property and participate in the learn and grow. So it's all about getting in the right rooms these days. And people
I
say, "Well,
agree.
I don't know anybody. How do I get in the right room?" Well, there's a room for you right there. Just go online and Josh and I will be there. So
That's right.
you get
We'll
to
be
hang with
there.
us.
And you know what? The other big thing about getting in the right room. This is all first generation wealth builders, like ourselves,
Yeah.
hardworking. Um, and we all don't know what we don't know yet. And that's why I love having you speak, MC, because what you teach is you could be called the Rockefeller strategy. It's the stuff that I never heard growing up about how to help preserve your legacy. So I love having you speak. So thank you for doing that. But I was also going to make a quick mention that one of the biggest things that I try to break through when I talk to families, because thankfully we have a lot of families who have invested, is just think out loud. How does this, just think to yourself, why would I even direct invest in anybody's deal? And it's it's hard to believe, but the reason the ultra wealthy get wealthy doing direct investing for themselves is because if it has scale, you can either hire an executive team to run that asset, and then of course the IRS incentivizes you to do these types of, let's call it business. If you own a business, there's tax strategies. If you own real estate, there's tax strategies, and it's good. It's good that the IRS code allows for that because that allows you, whoever we are, to be direct investors. We put up our money, we get triple or quadruple the benefits because we get one, we get the tax strategy. Two, we get the potential to own equity into perpetuity, even if we have our money back. These are things you don't get in the public markets. Um, so when you're at those Learn and Grows MC, you joke, you say you get to meet the expert teams. Expert teams. You don't actually have to go out and if you want to go buy a commercial property, it is awesome. You will need to build a professional team though. And kind of when you come side by side like you and I do with great people, you get the same benefit, just pro rata to the amount you want to invest. It's curious. It's something I wouldn't have understood until I was around people like you in the same room.
The other thing that people ask me usually is, I'm looking for a tax expert or a CPA that understands kind of what I'm trying to do as an investor. You'll find them in rooms like that.
Always.
A lawyer, they're always there, and that's why I always say to folks, they're like, I can't find anybody, and my tax guy doesn't know any of this stuff. Where do I find them? Places like this. So you got to put yourself in situations where you're going to find the right people with the right mindset, and the right people that I would say look at the world for what it is and sees the threats and the opportunities because of the threats,
Right.
and have strategy around it. So yeah, would definitely recommend it. Josh, the other thing too is, where can folks, if they want to follow you? I love the
Oh
social
yeah.
media that you put out. You've got a fantastic podcast too, Capital Hacking. Um, there's a ton of projects that you're involved with. Where can folks follow you
The,
and stay in touch with all of the many things that you're involved with?
yeah, we try like you. I mean, we're very available to people. I mean, I think LinkedIn's the fastest way to reach me. We do post probably every couple days there. It's almost like my blogging platform in some degree, you know. So LinkedIn, my name is McCallen, almost like the Scotch, but Josh McCallen, a little different spelling.
Yep.
And it's pretty easy to find us there. And feel free to DM me and get a hold of me on anything. Even if you're out there trying to buy your own boutique hotels, we'd love to chat with you. Or if you'd love to hear how we do it, we'd love to chat with you.
Yeah. The one thing that I love too, Josh, is you're on the same page as me, is that we're accessible. I feel like almost right now, nobody's accessible. And I mean, try and get a hold of someone just at a company these days, right?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So that's refreshing. And I wanted to share that too, because we try to flip the script, on that whole, oh, you can't get a hold of someone and you have to get to this person to get to this person to get to the person you actually want to get to, right? Well, I love the accessible, that you're accessible, that you interact. And again, like I said, you go to Learn and Grow. You're in the room chatting to people right there. They want to talk to you, have a conversation. You're accessible. So I appreciate that.
With your involvement in Learn and Grow, and I don't know if people know how big the speakers are this year, that we have Jeff Rutt, Jeff Rutt is somebody who I look up to. He's the one who built back before it was cool, like 20 plus years ago, he built Hope International, which is that micro lending concept that we've all, you've been hearing about it for 20 plus years.
Yep.
But he reached $1.5 billion if micro loans in the third world, helping people climb their own way out of, let's say, a desperate situation, $15, $20, $100 at a time, believe it or not. And he tells that story. It's one of the most uplifting, hopeful stories of the human condition, because and how he built that was just because he felt called to. He's not even a financier; he's a builder. He's a land developer. That's his training. So he's a blessing. He'll be there. Several other great keynotes, including Jim Shields, the guy who wrote 18 Summers. So if nothing else, and by the way, unlike every other room that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, this one is ridiculously affordable. We actually subsidize it at Accountable Equity as the sponsor, because we want to let you get into your first room without having to write a $10,000 check. Now, later, you may join one of the $10,000 companies and groups that we're not that group, and that might be worth it to you. But the first one will help you get your foot in the door.
Awesome. Again, this is all at accountableequity.com. Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show again and just sharing your insights, your knowledge, and as always, providing so much value for all of my listeners and viewers.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
And thank you to all of my listeners and viewers for again spending your most valuable resource, your time, with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got 1,000 podcast episodes, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, live infinitely. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.